Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Last week I visited IGDC, which is the India Game Developer Conference. Over there I attended multiple sessions, workshops and a lot of discussions. I also met some of you guys over there. I was truly amazed because I wasn't expecting to meet any of you guys over there. But yeah, I do really appreciate your support. Well, it cannot be the Game Developer Conference without the games. So I experienced all of the games over there and it was really truly amazing to experience all those games. So last week while I was there, Unreal 5.5 got released and I also attended the session on Unreal Engine 5.5 updates and future scope. So I gathered all the information and here I compiled this presentation on what are the updates and the future scope. So without further ado, let's get started. Also, if you would like to get a copy of this presentation, here I have added lots of reference links and I've also added notes for each of the slides. So if you are interested, you can join my Discord channel. There I will post this presentation in my resource channel. Starting with the world creation, we have few updates for the world building in Unreal 5.5. So we can now have external data layers, which is the plugin based streaming, so that the actors can now be linked to the game feature plugins, enabling runtime activation of specific levels streamings without modifying the base game content. If you want to learn more about how to do the level streaming, I have an amazing tutorial on that so that you can have a smooth transition between your levels by streaming them or loading or unloading the levels. Also, data layers can now have a parent-child relationships for improving structure. Also, one major update is static lighting. So the static lighting now is in the experimental support in 5.5, which can be used for world partition, which is compatible with both light maps and volumetric light maps. If you want to set up the static lighting, you need to go to the default engine.ini and there you have to add this command r.allow static lighting in world partition maps. You can set that to 1. So the feature scope involves world bookmarks in Unreal 5.6. We do already have the viewport bookmarks, or you can call it as camera bookmarks, which are pretty handy. So the world bookmarks will be interesting. So they will be improving the streaming performance in 5.6. They will be having custom HLT and debugging tools with Unreal Insights and a lot more. Coming up, we have the updates for PCG, which is the procedural content generation. So the PCG now can be used with the biomes. So the biomes are the set of environment which you can make, and now we can use this with PCG, which is pretty interesting. They have worked on improving the workflows and they have worked on the UX. We can now harness the GPU power for intensive PCG processes. They have also improved the graph executor for optimized multi-threading, reducing PCG impact on responsiveness and frame rates. They have also added dynamic mesh support to modify using merge, transform, and append meshes from points. They have also added pathfinding nodes, which can implement the A-star algorithm for optimal pathfinding across point data with adjustable performance tuning. They have also added the spline mesh nodes, which is a new node for easily assigning meshes to splines in PCG. So the future of PCG is to be production ready, improvement in GPU, PCG in UEFN, which is amazing, mega world biomes so that you can create a large amount of islands and then you can use it in PCG, and PCG for landscape grass. Here we have a new feature added up in Unreal 5.5, which is the day sequence plugin, currently in the experimental stage. Back then we used to create the entire blueprint for controlling the day-night cycle. Now we have this plugin out of the box, which will simplify the creation of 24 hours day-night cycles. It can be integrated with Sequencer so that you can control the sun, moon, stars positioning and its lighting. You can also control the atmosphere, clouds, rendering. Also, we can add procedural lighting sequences over here. Key features here are the multiplayer support. So it's the out-of-the-box network synchronization. And yeah, it can be used in a sequencer. You can control the time that variable can be directly controlled in the sequencer. So yeah, it's a good feature. Let's start with the rendering features in 5.5. We have few updates for Nanite. So the Epic is working on optimizing foliage assets for Nanite, enabling hyper detailed vegetation with fewer performance concern. Also, skeletal meshes are getting experimental support for Nanite, which could allow animated characters and creatures to benefit from Nanite's high performance and detail scalability. You can now explicitly enable Nanite's tessellation in material and material instances. This helps avoid issues caused by previous systems' automatic displacement detection. Also, what you can see now is the new Nanite mesh painting, which is a new approach is being developed for painting directly on the Nanite meshes, which is really amazing. And you can see how in the real time you can just edit and add the depth between the layers. So the future updates for Nanite would be the experimental stage for Nanite foliage and more improvements Nanite for skeletal meshes. Let's hope that they have Nanite decals and support for translucent objects or materials. Megalights was the highlighted feature for Unreal 5.5. But not just Megalights, there were a lot more updates and features added in 5.5. Hence, I'm creating this video so that everyone is aware about what are the features we do have currently, and I would want everyone to use all those features to fasten up your work and make things more optimized. So yep, Megalights is currently in experimental stage. It is a revolutionary lighting system designed for modern consoles and PC with ray tracing. It does allows massive number of dynamic shadowed area lights while improving performance and visual fidelity. Megalights replaces several deferred lighting techniques, which is a render technique, deferred lighting. It supports volumetric fog and it uses stochastic sampling for unified direct lighting. It allows artists to leverage advanced features like textured area lights with realistic soft shadows, which was not possible in previous Unreal versions. So it is compatible with virtual shadow maps or ray tracing for shadow methods. Lumen support for dynamic mesh is added. Lumen can now, with the high quality, can get up to 60 Hz and with hardware ray tracing 60 FPS on current gen consoles. For the future scope, I really hope they do release the sample or the demo of the Megalights environment that they showcased, because that was truly beautiful. I would like to experiment with that environment itself. Some of the limitations for Megalights are they do lack support for translucency, then direction lights and certain volumetrics, and it's also incompatible with forward renderer, which is a different rendering technique. Game engines, there are two types of rendering techniques. One is deferred rendering and one is forward rendering. Unreal by default supports deferred rendering. Forward rendering is mostly used for mobile and XR development. Some general updates for rendering in 5.5. Path Tracer is now considered production ready. Actors like atmosphere and volumetric clouds are now supported with Path Tracer with high fidelity rendering. Also, they've added new spatio-temporal denoiser for high quality offline rendering via movie render queue and movie render graph. Substrate is now in beta status, supports all features of legacy materials and deployable across all the Unreal Engine supported platforms. The improvements underway for reducing material cook times and memory footprints. We also have the first person rendering, which is in experimental stage. This prevents player hands and weapons from clipping into the world objects. It features a separate field of view for first person assets independent from the main scene, compatible with opaque, translucent, Niagara particles and Nanite geometry. Orthographic rendering is also supported in 5.5, which is useful for architectural visualization, engineering and stylistic gameplay. The future scope resides the first person rendering, which will have shadow of third person. have first person mesh self shadowing and the reflection, and also substrate to be production ready. Let's now quickly talk about architectural changes in rendering in 5.5. So now we have the renderer parallelization, with the help of which the RHI, which is the rendering hardware interface, tasks now translate into platform command list more efficiently. This now achieves up to 2 times performance improvement by reducing stalls. This offers minor gains in dynamic resolution and render thread performance. We also have the updated GPU profiler, which is GPU Profiler 2.0. With the help of the GPU profiler, you can examine your entire scene frame by frame, and you can track down where you are getting the frame drop, and accordingly you can try to optimize those meshes which you are seeing in the current frame. Also, we have few render pass improvements. So the scene captures and the custom render passes now supports screen percentage compositing, enhancing the performance. Also, we have the user defined intermediate textures, introduces a user scene texture for sequential read writes in post-processed materials. In 5.5, we also have a new tool, which is the Material Designer, which is different from Material Editor, but it is more user-friendly. So the Material Designer is now supporting PBR, full support for physically based rendering workflows. A layering system is there, allows stacking for multiple textures, color, and you can add those patterns. Features multi-texture drag and drop functionality for fast material creation. So it is really easy for artists now to work with the materials in the Material Designer instead of the Material Editor. We can also have the texture sets over here, enables drag and drop of texture sets, and it will automatically enter in those respective slots. For example, base color, metallic, normal maps, it will automatically detect its slot of the textures and it will automatically get applied to it. You can also have the color corrections. So overall additional key improvements: the GPU profiler enhanced diagnostic tools for GPU performance analytics, the bindless resources, which is efficient resource binding for improved GPU performance. The shader compilation is now faster and more efficient, compiling for enhanced productivity. Mesh texture color painting, so directly color painting on meshes for real-time feedback and flexibility in material design. Let's step in now in the animation updates. So Unreal 5.5 bringing a lot of animation updates, I cannot exaggerate. Starting with rigging. So now the modular control rig is in beta state. It has new features such as module variants, it has module hierarchy, and some new modules has been added, which are the quadruped, which is module for 4-legged creatures, vehicles module for animating more vehicles, bipedal, which is native support for skeleton like Mixamo, Vicon, and Human IK. You can now create control rig variations, which is currently now in experimental state, but this will allow animators to transition between rig variants seamlessly without losing any data. So also it enables backward and forward compatibility for control rig modules. Skeletal mesh editing is now production ready. So you can just imagine how you can edit the entire skeleton. You do not need to go inside the Blender and do some minor changes. You can do that in Unreal Engine itself. So features such as mesh isolation, weight transfer tools, mesh selection, LOD and skill profile editing, enhanced viewport display. ML Deformer also have few improvements. They have added tools for mask painting and region-specific data specification. There are major updates for the sequencer. So there are many improvements done in sequencer usability, such as customizable filtering. Users can now isolate or hide selected bindings, tracks, or channels in the sequencer itself. This helps cinematic artists focus on specific elements in a sequence and enhances workflow efficiency. They have added new hotkeys for easily hiding, isolating the sequence elements, speeding up the editing process. There's a new dedicated overlay window which displays the properties of bindings, tracks, sections, channels, and keys, offering quicker access to important settings. Users can now toggle a filter to control the sequence contents shown in the viewport. Also, we have take recorder thumbnails. So take recorder now generates thumbnails for recording camera, making it easier to identify shots during the recording process. We have something new, which is a dynamic sequencer. By default, it has a binding type which is replaceable. This binding type allows user to dynamically bind objects at runtime, offering more flexibility in cinematic creation. We have time warping. So the sequences, subsequences and skeletal animations can be time warped with an authorable curve, allowing for dynamic pacing adjustment. Here we have some quality of life improvements while animating in the engine itself. So animation layers are there in UE 5.5, which are non-destructive motion layers for added control, integrates with sequencers, section workflows. Some of the key features are create, merge and animate multi-object layers. Options for additive or override modes are there. We can now mute, lock, select and rename the layers. We can control the weights for multiple layers so that we can have a different effect each time. There's an improved arc ball or the gizmo for transforming, rotating and scaling of your objects. There's new parent space option added, by the help of which you can transform your objects globally or locally by maintaining the parent-child relationship between your objects. The Anim detail panels now have options such as vertical expand, key status indicator, consolidated transforms. Tween tools now have more options, which are blend relative, blend ease in and ease out between the keyframes, smooth and rough, and push and pull. These are the tools added in the tweening. If you have used the game animation sample project in Unreal 5.4, you will know how easy it is to do the retargeting of those animations to your custom character. So Unreal 5.4 improves on that, and we have the auto retargeting production ready. So we now have the layered control rig. So you can have the upper body with doing certain pose and the lower body doing certain pose. You can add the layers in your control rig. Deformers integration in sequencer is now really easy. We have linear blend skinning, DQ skinning, blending, twist, squash and stretch kinds of deformation is added in your skeletal meshes, flare and lattice editing. So now you can do deforming during runtime, and that is really amazing. Another amazing feature added up in Unreal 5.5 for the metahumans this time is the audio driven animation for metahuman animation. So now you can process your audio waves or your audio itself as such to generate realistic facial animation for your metahuman. This is actually really easy to use, and you do not need any cameras. You just need an audio file, and you just need to process that audio file for your metahuman face, and you can have a really precise looking facial animation with just the audio. The metahumans in Unreal 5.5 are now really optimized. The original metahuman of the cinematic resolution was around 800 megabytes, but now the high quality, medium and the low quality metahumans are now optimized in such a way with the baked textures and reduced complexity. They have achieved a drastic amount, which is a 60 megabytes of storage and with minor fidelity loss. Let's see what updates do we have for animation system. Starting with motion matching, which was released in Unreal 5.4, and that was a total game changer. The game animation sample project now has an update for Unreal 5.5. You can go to fab.com and download it for Unreal 5.5, or if you have already installed it on your epicgames launcher, you can first remove it from the launcher itself and then you can reinstall it for 5.5. We have some UX improvements for PSD, the post search database. The crouch and sprint is now added to your motion matching sample. The motion matching now supports replication. That means now it can be totally used for multiplayer. We have turn in place animations added. We have the ledge interaction, which many people were trying to add the ledge interaction in 5.4. Now they have made it much more smoother in Unreal 5.5. The mobile input support is now added with asset optimization. So now you can build the game animation sample project for your mobile device and you can test it out. We have a new node called as foot placement, which is there for better foot IK. So now we have a good foot IK present for the motion matching itself. The future for motion matching is they will be adding multi-actor support for motion matching. They will be adding more improvements in the trajectory analysis, the rewind debugging as well. There will be continuous updates and the features for game animation sample project. So 5.5 now have a new system for cameras, which is the gameplay camera system, which is an experimental stage. This provides a modular workflow for creating and managing the cameras in your entire scene or for your players as well. Enables multi-user collaboration with logically organized files, streamlined system for flexible camera transitions. Choosers, which is being used in the game animation sample project, is now production ready. So that's good to hear. So also we have some enhancements for the rewind debugger tool, which have a save and load functionality added. The mutable character or the mesh customization system is now in beta state. It has a dynamic content. So in runtime, skeletal meshes, materials and textures can be changed. Optimization features such as hidden surface removal for layering, for example jackets over shirts. Mesh and texture merging is being used to minimize the draw calls in the mesh customization system. The future scope for this will be the game camera system will be in beta state and the mutable will be production ready. Let's check out the updates in the simulation. The chaos system now has a lot of features and updates in 5.5. Starting out with chaos flesh, which is now in experimental state. It focuses on animated muscle and fat layer simulation, which has muscle fat constraints, skeletal mesh validation, and ML model training. The Chaos Modular Vehicle system is now in experimental state, and I'm really excited to test out this Chaos Modular Vehicle system, just how you can convert your car to a plane, and it is actually total modular, so it will be really easy to switch, and I think it will be seamless. So real-time vehicle construction and destruction is there, custom simulation modules, and they are replicable as well, I suppose. It also supports geometry collection actors and for future static meshes. The Chaos Visual Debugger has some updates. We can now record and playback physics simulation for debugging, just how like the Rewind Debugger tool in motion matching. We can have a frame-by-frame simulation visualization in editor viewport itself. Niagara particle system also have few updates. So they have come up with the lightweight emitters, which is in beta state. This do not store state between frames, only visible proxies are calculated. Hence, it is lightweight and more optimized. It increases the emitter count and reduces the runtime cost and compile time. Optimized for simple behaviors, improving productivity and efficiency. First, it was introduced in experimental in 5.4, now it is in beta in 5.5. We have the Niagara data channels now, which will facilitate data transfer between Niagara system and other engine paths. Improve performance for scenarios such as impact effects by injecting events into large shared systems. This is now production ready with enhanced user experience and runtime capabilities. The future scope for Niagara will be, they will be adding support for lower-end mobile devices via stateless emitters or the lightweight emitters, which is currently in beta state. By that time, they should be in production ready. Also, the PCG and Niagara can be working together, so you can have procedurally generated Niagara particles for that. We have some framework updates in 5.5, one of which is the Mover plugin, which is now version 2.0, which is being used in the game animation sample project for motion warping and motion matching. So it has now improved root motion support for the animations. They have added some trajectory queries for motion matching and the navigation path support for the AI. The future for this Mover plugin would be a physical based character movement. Currently it is the capsule based, and they will be adding more physics to it to make it look more natural, and they'll be adding more support for character movement controller. They also have added few improvements for the state tree. I'm really interested to cover state tree on my channel because I've already created a tutorial on AI using behavior tree. Now state tree is a different system, but it has more customization for the AI. So it has some UX improvements. They have added few more selectors in the runtime of state tree, such as utility state selector, which is a score-based selection for more dynamic decision making. And there's the random weight selector, allows weighted random state selections, so that can be used. So they also have improved the diff tool, which helps team collaborating on complex AI systems visualize and manage changes in state trees, which is similar to the blueprint diff tool. It highlights added, modified or removed content, streamlining the review and debugging the process. We have the new mass system or the instanced actors. You can call it as a prefabs. So the objective is the instance actors aim to replace traditional actors with mass entities, enabling more performance efficient management for entities in dense open world environment. How it works is the systems allows seamless conversion between actors and entities, optimizing how objects are handled and rendered in real time without sacrificing the game world complexity. The benefit is it significantly improves performance by using data-oriented approach to manage large numbers of entities, ideal for open world games or environment requiring many active objects. The future for mass system will be the player interactable smart objects, which will be pretty interesting. They will be experimenting with the navigation support and with the different kinds of meshes. So certain improvements in the navigation framework in Unreal 5.5. If you want to add a navigation system, you will have to drag and drop the nav mesh bounce volume in your world and you will resize it. But now we have the automatic nav link generation, which will automatically create the bounding box according to your scene. So the future for the navigation will be better baked nav mesh data for the world partition, because now you can see in the borders we do have the walkable area, but we do not want over there. So it's still in beta stage, I suppose. They will be adding more improvements for this, and mass nav mesh support for cheaper AI will also be added. Now the gameplay ability system or the gas system, I am really excited to explore this because it adds a lot more functionality and customization and modularity for your character. So you can have multiple abilities for your character. If you go and check the value of the ancient project, which is the echo character is being used, you can find they are using the gameplay ability system over there. It has this attack animation, which I extracted that system from the value of the ancient project to my Wukong remake, and I created the same system for the Wukong. So yeah, I am really interested to deeply dive in the gas system and create tutorials upon that. They have now added some improvements in 5.5. So replication conditions for attributes have been added, color coded clients versus server states, so that it will be easy to identify and synchronization will be easier. They have improved on debugging of gas, and yeah, I think you can check the documentation right over here. I will provide this document on my Discord channel, so make sure you join and check that out. So yeah, so when will Unreal 5.6 be released? The tentative date is the late spring 2025. So yeah, let's hope for a lot more features to come up in 5.6, and the current features which are there in 5.4 and 5.5 be more polished and easy to use. So again, thank you so much for watching this video. Please provide valuable feedback. This is a different kind of video which I created today because I wanted to just what I gathered all the information from the event and reading all the forums. I wanted to create a short video, compiled video on what are the updates on 5.5 and what will be the future of Unreal Engine. You can check out the UE 5.5 roadmap, the release notes over here, and the UEFN roadmap, which is also pretty interesting. You can check that out. You can follow my socials there on this QR code. So again, thank you so much for watching this video and stay tuned for more tutorials.